Have you ever had a really tough week at work? Or maybe you pulled an all-nighter and the next day your symptoms feel a little worse? It's easy to jump to the conclusion that you've somehow made your MS progress faster. You start replaying every decision. Was it that extra cup of coffee? Did I push myself too hard at the gym? Let's clear this up right away. MS doesn't usually speed up because you had one stressful day, or because you forgot to drink enough water, or even because you indulged in a slice of pizza. While those things can certainly make you feel temporarily worse, what's known as a pseudo-exacerbation, they aren't the engine driving the disease forward. The biggest reason MS appears to move faster is ongoing disease activity that isn't being controlled well enough. Think of it like embers smoldering long after a fire seems to be out. On the surface, everything looks calm, but underneath, inflammation is still active, creating new damage in your brain or spinal cord. This is often called subclinical activity, and it's a crucial concept to understand. It means new damage can be happening quietly, accumulating in the background long before you even notice a new symptom or feel a change in your body. So when we ask, why is my MS getting worse? That's the fundamental answer: uncontrolled disease activity. But here's the weird part, the central paradox of living with this condition that can be so confusing. Sometimes people feel absolutely terrible, battling fatigue, pain, and brain fog, even though their MRIs show the disease is stable and not getting worse. Their day-to-day experience feels like a decline, but the underlying disease isn't actually progressing. And, just as confusingly, sometimes MS is actively getting worse, with new lesions forming on an MRI, while the person feels completely fine, maybe even better than they have in months. This disconnect between how you feel and what the disease is doing is what we're going to unravel in this video. Those two facts sound impossible. By the end of this video, you'll know why both are true, and you'll know which signs deserve a conversation with your neurologist. If you've ever wondered, is my MS getting worse? Am I progressing? Or is today just another weird MS day? You're asking one of the hardest questions in multiple sclerosis, because MS doesn't come with a dashboard light, it comes with confusing clues. Today we're going to sort through them together. Imagine hiring the world's worst contractor. Some weeks, nothing happens. Then suddenly, they knock down your kitchen wall, disappear for 6 months, come back, paint one ceiling, then leave a raccoon in your attic. Congratulations, you just hired MS. MS isn't predictable. It has periods of quiet and periods where inflammation becomes active. That's why people can feel stable for years or suddenly notice changes over a much shorter period. This surprises a lot of people. MS doesn't speed up because you turned 50. It doesn't suddenly accelerate because you had pizza. The biggest factors include active inflammation, new lesions, frequent relapses in relapsing forms of MS disease that's not adequately controlled, progressive disease processes. That's why neurologists care so much about MRIs. Even when you feel okay, the brain occasionally whispers before it screams. Here's one of the strangest things about MS. You can develop new lesions and have absolutely no idea. Your brain is incredible. It reroutes signals, creates workarounds, and basically says, I've got this. Until one day, it doesn't. It's like driving on a spare tire. Eventually, the spare gets tired of being the spare. This is where everyone starts accusing MS of cheating. Heat, stress, poor sleep, illness, overdoing it. They can all temporarily make existing symptoms feel worse. That's called a pseudo-flare, and it doesn't necessarily mean new damage has occurred. It's your nervous system saying, I'd like to file a formal complaint. Think of your brain as a phone. At 100% battery, everything works. At 5%, even opening the calculator feels ambitious. Your brain isn't broken, it's running on very limited power. Here's the encouraging part. Modern disease-modifying therapies have dramatically changed the outlook for many people with MS. They're designed to reduce new inflammatory activity and lower the risk of future relapses. That doesn't mean they're perfect, but they can significantly reduce the chances of new damage compared with untreated disease. It's a little like installing better security instead of waiting for another break-in. Movies taught us disease progression looks like dramatic music and someone collapsing in slow motion. Reality? Sometimes it's, I trip slightly more. My walking feels different. I'm taking longer to recover. My balance seems a little off. MS often changes quietly. That's why tracking symptoms over months, not just days, is so valuable. Here's something your brain deserves more credit for: neuroplasticity. Your brain constantly finds detours around damaged pathways. Imagine GPS saying, road closed, recalculating. It does that thousands of times. But eventually, too many road closures become difficult to reroute. That's one reason protecting brain health early matters. Not every bad day needs an emergency appointment, but certain changes should absolutely be discussed. Examples include New neurological symptoms lasting more than 24 hours without another obvious cause like infection or overheating. Symptoms that continue to worsen, changes that don't return to your previous baseline. Increasing difficulty walking, seeing, speaking, or using your arms and hands. When in doubt, call. Neurologists would rather answer one unnecessary question than miss one important one. MS already steals enough energy. Don't give it your peace of mind too. Focus on what helps, taking medications as prescribed, staying active within your limits, prioritizing sleep, managing stress where you can, keeping follow-up appointments, reporting meaningful changes. You can't control every twist MS throws your way, but you can control how prepared you are. So, let's bring it all together. We've covered a lot of ground, but it all comes back to one central question. When does MS move faster? The simplest answer is that it tends to accelerate when the underlying disease activity isn't being effectively managed. This could mean you're experiencing clinical relapses, or it could be something happening silently, visible only on an MRI as new or enlarging lesions. Another way it can speed up is through that slow, steady accumulation of disability over time, what researchers call PRA, or progression independent of relapse activity. This is the quiet, gradual change that can happen in the background, even when you're not having a full-blown attack. But here's the most encouraging and vital part of our entire discussion. Feeling worse on any given day does not automatically mean your MS is worsening. The daily experience of MS is a roller coaster. You might feel more fatigued or clumsy after a poor night's sleep, or notice your brain fog thickens when you're stressed or overheated. These are often temporary symptom fluctuations, not a sign of disease progression. And on the flip side, having a really good day where your energy is up and your symptoms are quiet doesn't mean the MS has magically disappeared. It's a wonderful, welcome reprieve, but it underscores the importance of sticking with your management plan to create more of those good days. The goal isn't to live in a state of high alert, becoming afraid of every little twitch or moment of forgetfulness. That's exhausting and counterproductive. The real goal is to become an expert in your own body, learning to recognize the difference between a rough day and a concerning pattern that's worth discussing with your healthcare team. Think of it like a simple triage system. Ask yourself, is this symptom brand new and lasting more than 24 hours? Is an old symptom coming back with a vengeance and sticking around? Or is this just a bad day, likely tied to a specific trigger like poor sleep or stress? If it's a new, persistent symptom, that's a clear signal to call your neurologist. If it's a rough day, practice self-care and see if it resolves. This self-awareness is your superpower. Empowering yourself with this knowledge replaces panic with a plan. That's always the goal. We've just dismantled one of the most pervasive and frightening myths about multiple sclerosis, the idea that it's a one-way street to rapid decline. Understanding that your journey is unique and not a predetermined path is a massive step. But what happens on those days when your symptoms suddenly feel worse? It's easy for that old fear to creep back in, making you wonder if your MS is progressing after all. That's why the next video I've queued up for you is so crucial. It's called Think You're Relapsing, It Might Be a Pseudo-Flare, and you can see it on the screen now. This is one of the most common sources of anxiety for people living with MS. A true relapse involves new inflammation and damage in your central nervous system, while a pseudo-flare or pseudo-exacerbation is a temporary worsening of old symptoms. It's your body's way of reacting to a trigger like heat, stress, an infection, or even just overexertion. Your symptoms flare up, feel intense, and can be genuinely scary, but there's no new disease activity happening. Learning to distinguish between the two is a game changer. It empowers you to respond appropriately, cooling down instead of calling the neurologist or resting instead of rushing to the ER. It helps you conserve your emotional and physical energy for what truly matters. Understanding this difference can save you an immense amount of unnecessary worry and help you feel more in control. Thank you so much for spending your time here today, investing in your own understanding and well-being. And as we close, please hold on to this. You are not your diagnosis. It's a part of your life, but it does not define the entirety of who you are. You are on a journey of discovery, learning the unique language of your own body and figuring out how your nervous system works a little differently. Be patient and compassionate with yourself through this process. There will be ups and downs, but every step is part of learning to navigate your world with new wisdom. You're not alone in this. I'll see you in the next one.